let's hear from two of its branch chairmen, Caerphilly's Sam Gould, who's also a senior aide to Mr Gill, and Chris Smart, who's acting chair of UKIP Wales and chair of the party's Bridgend branch. Thank you both very much for coming in. I'll peer over my screen here just to make sure I can see you.
Thank you.
I guess, first of all, Sam, there's no denying, I guess, Nathan Gill's assets to the party, both in terms of during the election campaign and maybe the referendum campaign. But during the election campaign, he did say he was going to stand down as an MEP. So why has he changed his mind? Why won't he do it?
Well, as you said, he's very much an asset to the party. I mean, he led our Assembly election campaign, which gave us 7 AMs, and then also our referendum campaign, which then Wales voted for Brexit. And one of the things which he did say before the Assembly elections was that he would stand down as an MEP after the referendum. Now, before that referendum, there were two other candidates in the run-in to replace him as MEP. And after the referendum, both of them said they did not want to take on the post. So as a result, if he was to stand down, it would lead to the job role becoming vacant, and that would trigger a very expensive by-election.
But there is now a candidate who's stepped in. James Cole used to be a member of UKIP, left, now has rejoined. He's able and willing.
Not actually eligible based on the fact that he's only rejoined the party recently. And further to that, many within the party are very unhappy that an individual, James Cole, can actually then rejoin the party after campaigning against the party in the most recent Assembly elections, which some would argue may have cost us a seat or two.
Chris Smart, then, what's wrong with Nathan Gill continuing, as we've just heard from Sam there, in a role, and he's already said that the MEP role is a non-job. He says he doesn't get any more money from it, so what's the problem there?
Well, he can't do the job effectively. He's missing group meetings. He turns up late to group meetings. There's regularly a seat left vacant in the Assembly chamber in front of Mark Reckless and David Rowlands. It's just not working. And one thing to correct Sam on, or yourself actually, you said that during the Assembly campaign he said he'd stand down. Well, actually, in a manifesto that went to every member in Wales back in February, when he was asking people to vote for him to become number one on the North Wales list, he said categorically, I will resign as an MP to work in the Assembly and Wales, where we will play a crucial role in ensuring that the people of Wales vote to leave the EU. There were no ifs or buts. He was going to resign. The Assembly election came and went. He was elected as number one on the North Wales list. He decided, he went back on that word and then said he would resign after the EU referendum. People accepted that, and now they've just had enough of this double jobbing. If he was an MP, of course, he would have had to stand down, because that's the law brought in by the coalition government.
But we are where we are with the situation in Wales. I mean, would you be happy with James Cole then standing in as becoming the MEP for UKIP in Wales?
Well, Nathan himself has said it's a non-job in Brussels. There are 23 UKIP MEPs, so whether James Cole goes in, or even if it's vacant for a very short period...
So what's the problem with Nathan Gill carrying on, if it is a non-job, as you were saying?
Well, his problem is that he is spending as much time in Brussels. He's not spending very much time in the Assembly. And another point, Sam, I think, says about the NEC meeting tomorrow, but as I understand it, his expulsion from the party would be automatically, it would take effect today, because I had a communication last night from the National Executive Council who said that it would be automatic. On the 31st of July, the NEC resolved to expel Nathan Gill from the party membership effective Sunday the 7th of August, unless he either resigns as an AM or as an MEP during an...
Well, let me just put that... I mean, Sam, I think you're hearing that for the first time. So it seems the understanding is that Nathan is no longer a UKIP member. What's going to happen next? Because you've said in the past, Nathan isn't going to change his mind, isn't going to resign from either post. What happens now then?
Well, I think all the way throughout this, he's had the interest of the people of Wales at his foremost of his mind, and the fact that if he was to stand down and the post was actually led vacant, it would actually trigger a by-election, because the post has to be filled. Now, the risk is that we wouldn't actually have a Brexit voice, and of course if that by-election was called, that would cost millions of pounds, and Nathan would not want to see frontline services cut in order to pay for that.
Yeah, but what I mean is for Nathan Gill himself
and now as an individual he would stand as an independent, which would be a great shame to see the leader of the of UKIP in Wales kicked out the party for doing what has been asked of him by Nigel Farage, the party chairman, the party director, which was to stay on until this post could then be filled. Now, I think it was very disappointing to see that there were two AMs who could have filled that post, who then asked Nathan to do something which they themselves were not prepared to do, despite saying that they were prepared to do it, or were considering being prepared to do it beforehand.
Yeah, I think we'll have to probably wait and see how this one goes for the rest of the day. But I want to move on though to the broader issue, I guess, facing UKIP. What happens in a post referendum, as we near Brexit era, and also in a post Nigel Farage era, and even here, I guess you're not doing a great job in getting to the successor of Nigel Farage, what with the situation around Martin Wolf, Stephen Wolf, and so on. So what happens next, do you think now, Chris Smart?
Well, I think that UKIP's got to become a mainstream party, become a major player in local government, and try and win, of course, more seats in Parliament. To be a mainstream party, it's got to focus on the small matters like emptying people's dustbins, seeing the roads.
But wasn't the whole point of UKIP to get UK out of the EU, and hasn't that now happened?
Well, that was the whole point, and many people I know joined UKIP simply for that reason. But now it's so well established, 4 million people voted UKIP in the general election, only one seat accepting, but 4 million still voted. Tremendous success at the Assembly elections, as we all accept. So I think people do want UKIP now to stay. I mean, we have branch meetings and we have 22, 23 people. I've been in politics 40 years, never seen so many people turn up at branch events as they are with UKIP even now.
But I guess, Sam, we're still waiting to get a sense from the 7 Assembly members that you've got as to what UKIP is in terms of a political party. We know where you are on Europe very clearly. Everything else seems to be a little bit less clear.
One of the things which Chris mentioned is the fact that many of the people in UKIP joined UKIP for the referendum, and one of the reasons why Nathan was at some of the meetings which Chris alluded to was because he was actually campaigning for the referendum. How actually been involved in debates on this very radio station was one of the reasons he wasn't at one plenary, and then also for a TV debate. But as we move then forward and to moving the party forward, one of the things that's actually been a concern from Nigel Farage and other people within the party has actually been the National Executive Committee and the way in which it's orchestrated itself, because what we want to see is actually a grassroots movement rather than a hierarchical sort of movement led by sort of the NEC, a grassroots movement where members can actually then influence policy in the direction of the party and have a direction.
Sort of a blank canvas of a party almost then, because I've always thought, you think a party has a set of principles by which members, join it. What you seem to be saying is let's just have whatever the members want.
Well, I think there are certain key issues such as controlling immigration, making sure that Brexit means Brexit. We may have won a referendum, but we still haven't yet achieved that full goal.
Chris,
I can't agree that the NEC isn't a grassroots situation. Neil Hamilton was elected to the NEC 18 months ago.
But we're getting bogged down in internal party squabbles. Yes. Yeah, I want more of a view about what UKIP represents in the future.
Well, I think UKIP can be a mainstream party like the others, like Conservatives, Labour and the Liberal Democrats. But I think we have to mention this point about the NEC. It is a ruling body, and every party has a governing body, whether you call it a management board, National Executive Committee or whatever, and they've all been elected, remember, by the members. So how can one say that it's not a grassroots organisation?
Well, for now, Sam Gould, Chris Smart, thank you both very much for coming in. Maybe next time we'll have more of an idea of what UKIP will represent in the future.